Welcome, everyone, to the Prince on Prince podcast featuring the Doctor. I'm Prince.
I'm the Doctor.
And we are two lifelong friends who have been Prince fans since we've known each other, since the 80s, which is amazing. And what we're going to do is bring you all a series of wonderful conversations about all things Prince, from his music, his films, his inspirations, and most importantly, his impact. You name it, and we've got you covered. First, a quick note. My name really is Prince.
It's true. Another quick note. My name is not the Doctor. My name is Terry. Yeah, my name is Terry. I just thought that, the Prince on Prince podcast featuring Terry would sound a little bit weird. Doctor sounds better, so we're going to use that.
All right, I'm down with that. And so today, what we're going to do is start off by talking a little bit more about the why we're doing this, right? We recognize that there are a lot of wonderful podcasts out there. Apollonia has a podcast, The Violent Reality. There's some other folks that we really enjoy. And so this isn't to sort of compete with any of that. This is really to supplement and add to the canon of all things Prince. And I think that we have a lot of really cool things lined up that are different and will set us apart a little bit, but also still be interesting to other folks, because if you're watching this, you're probably a Prince fan, or you're Prince curious at the very least. And so yes, we're going to do this with you in mind as well.
Or you may be a Prince fan or Prince curious. Prince is curious.
I'm curious about Prince too. So let's talk about some of the things that we want to do. So
yeah, absolutely.
One that we definitely will talk about will be the Prince eras, right? You hear about a lot of other artists talking about eras today. No shade, but Prince, every album was like a new era for him, right? And so we definitely want to dig deeper into that.
Yeah, I think so. And some of the conversations we'll have about that and we'll be hoping to hear from you as well. What are some of the more underrated eras? And maybe what are some of the more overrated eras? How do they connect with each other? Where would we have liked to have seen him maybe hang out a little bit longer in his career? We'll also be talking about Prince the businessman, how he impacted the business. He was one of the early advocates of owning your masters, right? I think he picked that up from Ani DeFranco and Righteous Babe Records. And, he spoke to her about, her being an influence with that. But how he impacted the music business at that time, because while Ani DeFranco was doing that, Ani DeFranco was also publishing out of her, out of the house essentially, and selling records at shows. Prince was, an international superstar that was doing this. So how he impacted the music business when he was alive and what it might look like today.
And I like that you brought that up, because we also will talk about his impact on other artists, not just the ones from his sort of ecosystem, but artists that were there around his heyday, but also artists that came after him when he sort of transitioned into that elder statesman kind of person.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting distinction, and something we'll talk about in later episodes, where, some of the artists, it almost feels early on in his career, came under that Prince umbrella. Yeah. They were like Prince projects or Prince proteges. But you say, later on in life, he just started calling folks and putting people on, acting like that elder statesman. But of course, 2016 is the year that we lost Prince. This will be, when you're seeing these podcasts, it'll be the 10-year anniversary of his death. So what do we have now that he's gone? So we'll also be talking about music from the vault, music that we would like to see upcoming. We'll talk about some of the covers, people doing Prince covers. What are some of the best covers? And we'll also be talking about some of the musicians where we might hear him today, who's carrying on that legacy.
I hear folks out there right now saying, talk about it now. We're going to have to wait, because it's so much good stuff that you could talk about with Prince. One of the other things that we should definitely talk about is Prince and sexuality, right? I mean, he actually wrote a song called Sexuality, but a theme throughout his entire career kind of seemed to go back to sex, sexuality, spirituality, stuff like that. And so, as a special gift to you, I have a friend who is a sex coach. And so we'll bring her in and get her take. And she's also a Prince fan.
Yeah.
So we'll bring her in and get her take on some of this.
Excellent. As a special gift to me. That's
and
really sweet of you. I don't know what you're saying, but yeah, but that'll be interesting. Yeah, we've talked about her before, and it's interesting, how Prince has kind of influenced her work, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. Who else we have?
Oh, well, we were talking about the artists that he's influenced. Not every artist that he's influenced is a household name.
True.
But they're still doing great work. And so we're going to speak with, have you ever heard of Hypnotic Brass Ensemble?
Hypnotic Brass Ensemble, absolutely.
And if you've ever seen Hunger Games, their music is featured in there. And so a lot of people still don't know their name, but if you've seen them live, you have not forgotten about them. So we're going to have one of those members come and talk to us about their experience working with Prince and performing with him on the stage overseas.
That'll be amazing, especially, knowing the family lineage. I mean, well, the Hypnotic Brass Ensemble is a family band. Yeah. They're all brothers. But knowing not just, the brothers themselves, but the father, Keelan, Phil Karan, and the legacy that he brings. That's going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to that conversation as well.
Yeah, so we have a lot of really cool things lined up for you all. We hope that you like and subscribe below.
100%.
And that you come back and join us, and let's have a wonderful podcast series.
Absolutely. One other thing that we talked about when we were kind of designing this podcast is, we got together and we thought about what would be some good ideas for conversations, who would be some good guests to bring in. But we also wanted to, surprise each other a little bit. So we kind of assigned each other, all right, let's pick 3 episodes that we're going to, if you will, kind of choose the topic of. So I've got my 3 ready. You got your 3?
My 3 ready, and I almost forgot about that. So this is why I bring him with me. So that if I miss something, he's got my back. I was in the military, and we would say you have my 6, and I really appreciate that.
All right, yeah, I got you.
So you should probably start first. What are your 3?
Yeah, well,
how about this?
Sure.
You do your 3rd, I'll do my 3rd. You do your 2nd, I do my 2nd. Then
okay,
like that.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I've got to say, it's cool being in the same place with you. Prince and I live in different parts of the country. We've been friends since I was in 7th grade. He was in 8th grade. He's older. But in recognition of us being together, I've got a little mug here. My favorite bird, pigeons. Love pigeons. Neither here nor there, but birds of a feather flock together. So cheers. Good to meet you. All right, so my 3rd episode, the episode that I would like for us to talk about would be, I mentioned earlier, now that he's gone, what do we have left? I mean, he's got such an extensive library, right, that you can just spend, months really digging into it. But, you always want something new, right? You always want something new. So I'm going to be talking about kind of who's carrying the torch, the legacy, and specifically musicians where I hear Prince, right? And maybe that's just a chord, maybe that's just a harmony. And I think, being Prince fans, you probably know what I'm talking about. You hear a harmony, you hear maybe even a note, that gated snare, and you're like, that's Prince. Prince owns that sound. So we'll be talking about some artists where I hear Prince today.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that, mine would be artists that we wish he had collaborated with. There were so many incredible artists from the 80s, 90s, even early 2000s until he passed, that I think there were missed opportunities for him to collaborate with them. And so I want to save some of it for you. But yeah, I think that would be a very interesting conversation as well.
Yeah, I'm already thinking. Let me ask you this, not to jump ahead, but are you thinking like contemporaries or artists that have come out since?
No, I'm thinking about his contemporaries from the. But now that you say that, I'm thinking about an artist that is around today that I would love to have seen him perform with. So maybe we'll get into that too.
My mind's already working. Yeah, I really like that. I really like that. Another episode I was thinking about, we talked about, how Prince played with, you go back to controversy, right? Am I black or white? Am I straight or gay? Go back to I would die for you. I'm not a woman. I'm not a man. I'm something you'll never understand. And so, I'd really like to explore Prince's protest, if you will. We don't think a lot about, I mean, it wasn't until like Baltimore, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even like Ronnie Talked to Russia, early stuff like that, we don't really think about Prince and protest. We often think about Prince as kind of on the sideline. But I think that's a mistake because I think almost in every single thing he did, he was protesting against, those boxes of sexuality, those boxes of gender ideology, this kind of binary system of gender in that way. I don't mean like gender ideology and kind of the way it's become to be used where people, talk about that expansion. I'm talking about the opposite of that, where Prince was about breaking binaries and on questions of race too, and how Prince was, really breaking away from binaries, how he was really an intersectional artist, singing songs about. So we'll have some intersectional scholars come in and talk about his music.
And when I hear you say that, I think about a person who was not a musician that influenced a lot of musicians like Michael Jackson and Prince, but he also influenced other artists like Eddie Murphy, and that would be Muhammad Ali, because they all grew up with Muhammad Ali being that person. And so hopefully we get more into that. My number two conversation that we would have would be the deep cuts, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
there's so much music, it's hard to get through all of it. You might miss something, but I always felt that
I'm pulling a deep cut up right
pulling a deep cut in right now. I always felt that with Prince, even if you didn't like the whole CD or album or whatever,
Yeah.
that there was always one or two that you're like, oh man, you played it out. You just played it out. And so we should talk about the deep cuts.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when you say deep cuts, are you thinking B-sides? Are you thinking unreleased material? Are you thinking just underappreciated or all of it?
Oh, some of my favorite stuff is unreleased. Don't come after me. Some of my favorite stuff is unreleased. But yeah, deep cuts and some of his best music that he did release were on B-sides. Think of How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore? She's Always in My Hair. Erotic City.
Yeah.
17 Days. Wow.
Yeah.
And so people that only know what was released on the radio, they only know 1999, Little Red Corvette,
Right.
Purple Rain, which are great, but there's a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So before you even say your number one, let me ask you, and this will be a teaser for you all, deep cut that you would recommend right now.
One?
Just one deep cut that you would recommend right now.
Just one deep cut.
I don't know what I'm going to say yet.
I have no idea. Oh man. I always like Violet the Organ Grinder. That was, as a B-side. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. You can't ask me to do that. You got to let me do my homework. That's
Well,
some stuff.
I can do a whole episode on it. So that's fine.
fair. So yeah, let's do it then. Put me on the spot. All right, what's yours?
You hear what he just did there. You
See,
see
you
that?
can't do it. All right.
No, I can do it. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. The one that I would recommend right now, Vicky Waiting.
Oh, okay.
Vicky Waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it was a very vulnerable song for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting too that when we talk about deep cuts, we're kind of like at that late stage of what I think most people would point to as, the greatest 7 or 8 years of Prince's career, right? Late stage there, as opposed to some of that, early stuff or some of that stuff where he's kind of at the peak of it. Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Well, I think you're gonna come after me on this on my third episode, right? The third episode that I have. So one of my favorite podcasts that I absolutely love is called One Song. And One Song is hosted by Diallo Riddle and Luxury. And it's just a fantastic podcast. If you haven't checked this out, you have got to listen to this. Both huge Prince fans, great musicians in their own right. Just some really cool guys, but a great podcast. So what they do on this podcast is they do it's called One Song, and they pick one song from an artist and they do a deep dive. They go into, they break down the track where, they'll have the stems of the track. So they're like, here's the isolated vocal, here's the isolated keys, and Luxury, who's a musician and producer, will kind of walk you through sonically how those sounds got created and sounds that may have gotten lost in the mix. But one of the things that they've done in their podcast is towards the end, after their one song, they'll say, okay, here's that artist that we've just talked about. Take a great album from this group, right? Take a great album from this group and take away one song from that album.
I can't do it.
Yeah. It's so tough, right? They actually did that for Purple Rain. Which I know, right? Setting it up. So my third idea for an episode, sticking with threes, Prince liked his numbers as well. It's a one song tribute, and it's a one song tribute on three levels. One, I'd like us to discuss one of Prince's most popular albums, or one of our favorite albums, maybe, and pick one song that if we had to cut, or a direct homage to one song. So I'd like to do that. I think that would be cool.
All right. I love their podcast.
The second thing I think we should do on that episode is I think we should take one of the popular songs, like one song that kind of hit, that people listen to that maybe we didn't care for. So a little sacrilege, right? What's that Prince song that we could, get rid of? And then here's where I really think
I know my answer to that.
Okay, I'm interested to hear that. The third thing that I would say for this, and this is going to be really difficult. If you were to choose one song from his entire discography, and here's the kicker, all the other songs have to disappear.
I knew you were going to say something like that.
Yeah, all the other songs have to disappear. You can keep one Prince song, right? So we're taking all the Prince songs, and I know that's horrible, and people are
That's
like,
horrible.
Shut up, man. Don't even say. But you pull every song that he's ever done, but you can save one for the world.
Wow.
Or maybe it's not for the world, maybe it's just for you, right? But what would that one song be? So it's that one song tribute. What's the one song you get rid of on an album? What's the one song that you could take or leave that was a big hit? And what's the one song that you would save if the rest of them were going to disappear?
And see, the reason why I hate that,
there's a lot of reasons to hate it.
A lot of reasons is that as Prince fans, I'm sure that your favorite Prince song changes depending on the season, the mood, the day, what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
And so what initially popped in my head right now might not be what's in my mind when we do the episode. So let's see.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, there's a lot of reasons to hate that idea. I think there's only one reason to like it, and that's the song that you keep.
That's
right. That would be it. But so anyway, these are some of the ideas that we've got that we want to bring to you. We've got a great lineup of conversations. We got a great lineup.
Tango uno más.
What's that?
Tango uno más.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I haven't heard your third. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm just now. The one that I would do, and I think that you have to do it, is the dinner guest, right? Who from the Prince ecosystem would you want to have dinner with?
And I'm assuming it can't be Prince.
And if it could be Prince, that's the end of the show.
Yeah, for real.
But and
that's a quick episode.
That's a quick episode. Hey, Prince. Yeah. My job here is done.
Yeah.
So, and the person that I would choose has been the same for a while. I actually have two people that I really like, and so I debate between those two. Mm-hmm. But one, I think, and I've heard her give interviews, and so I've narrowed it down. But we are talking about Prince, so when is it not a her? Right? Unless you're talking about Morris or Jerome.
Yeah.
When is it not a her?
That's interesting, because as soon as you said that, I had an automatic answer in my mind.
And you thought it was a guy?
No.
Oh, you had an automatic answer.
I had an automatic answer of who I would have dinner with. And it's also a woman. So I'm curious to find out if it's the same one.
That would be
interesting.
I feel like it won't be. But I don't know what he's thinking. He doesn't know who I'm thinking. So that will be very interesting.
Well, if nothing else, I'm going to tune in to find out who he wants to have dinner with. So thanks for inviting me along for this ride. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
I wouldn't want to do this with anyone else. We hope that you all will continue to join us. Prince on Prince podcast featuring the doctor.